Now, coming to the point, why do we use built-up compression member? Now, what is the reason of using this built-up compression member? So, first reason is the built-up sections provide large cross-sectional area, which cannot be furnished by single rolled steel section. So, in the previous lecture, we have seen the steel table, and in the steel table, you have seen there are limited sections available, which are single rolled sections. Now, if we have to support large load, and if we are not able to find out a single section from the steel table, then how do we support that? In that case, what we do is we compose the sections so that they act as a single unit, and those sections are built up sections. So as I said, they are very useful in supporting large load. Also, providing a large single section is not a economical option also, and we are not able to use the area of that large cross section effectively, and therefore these built up sections provide us many ways to make it efficient. Now, second reason of using built up compression member is the built up sections provide special shapes, depth, uh, like they are actually a customizable section. So we can customize them as per our need, and therefore we can facilitate the connection between them. We can easily connect them. So based on our based on our choice, we can change them. Then third point is the built-up section provides sufficient large radius of gyration in two different directions. In the previous lecture, I have shown that different cross-section has different radius of gyration. Like for a single section, single I section, we have radius of gyration about this. Say this is the z-axis and this is the y-axis. So we have radius of gyration along the y-axis, say ry. We have radius of gyration along the z-axis, say z. So we have seen that rz and ry, they are not same, and generally in this case ry will be lesser than the rz value, which means the column will be weaker along the about the y-axis. So radius of gyration about an axis. So if any axis having lower radius of gyration, it means the member will be failed in that about that axis only. So that is why the value of radius of gyration is very important. Well, uh, if it is not clear to you what is radius of gyration, I will give you an example. Radius of gyration is basically the lateral dimension of any section. For example, this is a column. Say this is a column which is square in shape, and if we have to find out effect slenderness ratio, so slenderness ratio will be effective length upon the least lateral dimension. Least lateral dimension. So this is how we find out uh, lambda, which is slenderness ratio, in case of say RCC column. So in RCC column, generally we use circular or rectangular sections. So in that, say this is B and this is D. So we can clearly see that the least lateral dimension, which is B is less than D. We can easily identify which dimension is B, which dimension is D. We can clearly measure them, and that is why in this case lambda will be say L by B. It will give us the maximum value of lambda. So that will be the critical one. So in this case, we can easily identify what will be the least lateral dimension. But when we use sections like I section, so in the I section, which one will be the least lateral dimension? We cannot say that this dimension, neither we can say that this dimension, because we cannot easily identify which one is the least lateral dimension in this case. So in this case, what we do is whenever we have such complicated sections, like in case of L section, which one is the least lateral dimension? We cannot identify this as a least lateral dimension. Similarly, we cannot identify this as a least lateral dimension. Similarly, we cannot identify the thickness as least lateral dimension. So what we do in such case, we try to find out, we try to generalize the least lateral dimension by using a parameter which is called radius of gyration. So radius of gyration, say for example, this is the x-axis. Say this is the y-axis. Sorry, this is y-axis about this, and this is the say z-axis. So how do we find out radius of gyration? So if I say radius of gyration about the z-axis, then about the z-axis it will be d. So about the z-axis it will be d, and similarly about the y-axis it will be b. So whichever axis we select, the dimension will be perpendicular to this, because whenever there is an axis, the dimension will be measured as, I mean, we just imagine that about this axis, this area will rotate like this, and in the rotation, the radius that we get, that radius is called the radius of gyration. So similarly, if this is the axis, say x-axis, so about this, if we imagine that an area about this axis, it will rotate like this. So about this axis, the radius, the imaginary radius which will form will be called radius of gyration. So this is how radius of gyration is being measured. And now, as I was talking about the radius of gyration, so in case of single section like I section, so it has a definite radius of gyration along z axis, along the y axis, along the x axis. So it will have a definite value of radius of gyration, and one value may be higher, the other value may be lower. So in case of built up section, we have the opportunity to equate, I mean to equal the lower value of radius of gyration about with equivalent to the other. Like for example, in I section, the radius of gyration RZZ will be higher than the radius of gyration along the YY axis. Now, if we are using built up section, say for example, if we are using two channel section, so channel section will have like this one is the z axis and this one is the y axis of the whole unit. So in case of channel section, again RZZ will be higher than the RYY. Now if we are using two channel sections as a built up section, then what we can do is we can increase this RYY value of the whole unit. Now how do we equate, I mean how do we equate this value with this one? By adjusting the distance between these component. So basically built up section can have radius of gyration along both the axes same, simply by adjusting this distance between these two sections. So ultimately, to equate the value of RZZ and RYY, what we are going to do is we simply calculate the distance about which we will have RYY and RZZ equal. So higher the radius of gyration, higher will be the stability of the column and higher will be the load carrying capacity of the column. So with effective use, with efficient use of cross-sectional area, we can have built-up section which can carry higher load at efficient rate. Okay, so this is how we do. So we will use this phenomena in the example also. We will see that. Now, the fourth point, as it says, as larger radius of gyration is capable of handling more stresses, thereby requiring less area. As I said, we simply need to adjust the distance between them, and we can use, I mean, we can support more load at lower area. And that is why we say that built up sections are the most efficient section. And that is why we use built up section to carry larger load, and which ultimately leads to the economic design. Now we will see the design steps for the built-up compression member. Well, design steps are similar that we have seen in the previous lecture when we were designing the I section. So those, I mean, Those steps are same that we will follow here also. Now our aim is, so whenever we are following the steps, our main aim is, in case of design, is to find out the effective area, how much area will be required to support the load, and area will be calculated using this formula, which is P by FCD. And in this case, P will be given in the question. We are supposed to find out FCD. So initially what we do is we assume the value of FCD. So FCD value can be assumed between zero point 0.4 Fy to 0.6 Fy for initial assumption. Initially we can assume this much. Now this is one way to get the area A. Another way is assume the value of lambda, say as it says, assuming the lambda of value of lambda between 30 to 60. So once we assume the value of lambda, also find out the effective length. So length of column will be given in the question. So based on the end conditions and the actual length, we can find out the effective length. So once we find out the effective length and lambda value, we can easily find out the value of FCD from the table 9C. Why? Because all the built up section, if we see in the table 10, which is about the buckling class, so all the built up section belong to buckling class C. This I have already discussed in the previous lecture. So all the built up section will belong to class C, and that is why we will always find out the FCD value from this table, which is of IS code. So once we assume the value of lambda by calculating, once we find out the lambda value, and FCD value can be calculated using the table 9C. In this, we will always take Fy as 250. So in our design, we are always going to take Fy value as 250. Okay. So these four steps can differ in some textbook, but you have to understand that our main aim is to find out A. So either find out A by assuming the value of FCD directly between 0.4 to 0.6, or take this way, like assuming the value of lambda and then finding the FCD value from table 9C. So in both way, our aim is to find out A. Now, once we find out the value of A, then we choose a built up section so that the total, we choose a built up section so that the total area of the section chosen from the steel table becomes more than the required area. So this A we will take as a A required. So we will choose area of section such that their area will be more than the required area. And also we will arrange the member in such a manner that moment of inertia about ZZ axis and moment of inertia about YY axis will become close or will become equal. Well, again, what is the reason of them equating? As I said, radius of gyration in built up section, we try to place sections such that their RZZ value is equals to RYY value, because in most of the cases RZZ value is more than RYY value. So that is why what we do is we increase the value of RYY by placing, by adjusting the distance between the sections. So in this case, we know radius of gyration, the formula for radius of gyration is under root I by A. So if I equate RYY with RZZ, so in this case, what will happen? Under root I by A, so this will be IYY is equals to under root IZZ upon A. So under root to under root, it will cancel out, A to A will cancel out. So ultimately, to have RYY equals to RZZ, we will have IYY and IZZ should be equal. So that is why it says that we will adjust, we will arrange members such that IZZ and IYY will become close or will become equal. Okay. So that is our step 5. And in the next step, we will find out the R minimum. So obviously R minimum will be equals to RYY equals to RZZ. So this is the relation that we are going to use to have minimum radius of gyration, which will be equals to the maximum value of individual member. Okay. Then in step 7, once we find out the radius of gyration, then we will find out again the actual lambda value, and then we will find out FCD value from table 9C, and then we will find out the design compressive strength, which is PD. So if the value of PD is greater than the required factored load which the column is to carry, then we can say that the section that we have chosen from the step 5 will be okay. Otherwise, what we will do, we will choose a higher section having more area, and then we will again repeat the step 5, 6, 7 until we have this condition that PD is greater than P. Okay, so these are the steps that we have discussed earlier in the previous lecture also. So these are the similar steps. So now we will take an example of built up section in the next part. So thank you.